unblocked some roads over the weekend. They say the police has unlawfully killed one of their own without justification. In a statement, the Nkoranza South legislator noted the deceased Albert Donko was arrested in his mother's residence on April 25 on suspicion of a robbery incident that occurred on the Nkoranza-Kintampo Road and subsequently died or denied access to a lawyer and his family. Let's get more on the statement from the Member of Parliament. So we know the young man was picked up by the police, on April 25. Then he is alleged to have been involved in a robbery incident which occurred along the Nkoranza-Kintampo Highway around that same time on April 24. Now, he was subsequently denied access to his family and lawyer. And we are told that he was tortured and he was killed while he was in police custody. The police is claiming the death was as a result of a gun battle when the suspect at the time was leading the police to a crime scene. Now, the MP says the claim by the police is untenable. And the deceased was killed because he identified some of the robbers as policemen. That's according to many of the residents who have been speaking to us. And the MP is subsequently demanding justice for the slain residents. Let's get on to Zoom now and speak to Mr. Emmanuel Ejekum. He is the MP for the area. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ejekum. So beyond the demand for justice, what more do you want done in this specific instance of a killing of Albert Donko?
Right. I think the whole police system, the conduct of the police and everything is questionable. If you look at what actually happened to Albert, I think this system needs a serious revamp because you can't just pick somebody from the house, take him to the police custody, write a statement, and within 4 or 5 hours, you take him to the bush and shoot him there. And give the same reason you've been giving all over. It's like a rehearsal.
Okay.
They've been rehearsing this, probably the police service, when you go to the police. That is the rehearsal they give you, that if you shoot somebody dead, just say that we took the person to the crime scene and there was an exchange of fire. In fact, they have 3 stories now.
I'm afraid I have lost Mr. Ejekum there. While I get back to Mr. Ejekum, Dr. Adam Buna is also joining us as a security analyst. Dr. Adam Buna, thank you for joining us. It is not the first time we're having, reports of someone dying in custody or allegations of torture at the hands of the police to death by some of these individuals. From where you sit, this specific instance, what are the details as we know it?
Well, just like the MP was narrating, we are told that what I've gathered indicate that he was picked up from home, taken to the police station, and the family were told that he was killed in a gun battle, and so according to the police, they are investigating. And so for me, that is what I know about it. But to add that certain things don't add up. Yes. Certain things don't add up. If you ask me how they picked them up from home, what kind of robbery, was he involved in? At what point did they decide to bundle him to the robbery scene? And at what point was he killed? These are things that needs to be investigated. Probably what I would recommend might be to institute an independent probe.
Okay.
An independent probe into the circumstances surrounding his death. It is in the interest of the Ghana Police Service probably to do that, because then police-civilian relationship, since the IGP took over, has seen some appreciable, positivity here and there. Appreciable is gone up a bit, or it's gone up. And so when these incidents happen, it masks that relationship that civilians are supposed to have with the police, if you ask me.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Dr. Bona. Let me get back to Honorable Ejekum, and if you can hopefully sit up for me. I want to find out what you've been gathering from the residents, with respect to this particular incident.
First place, let me state that the boy in question, Albert, is my son. He's my brother's son, and therefore he's my son. The whole story they are telling the Ghana is not adding up. The reason being is Albert was picked from home. Within 4 hours, he was killed. In fact, the police could not even confidently come out to tell the family till 3 weeks. And they gave me 3 stories. The police intelligence units have got a different story. The regional police commander have got a different story. And the municipal police commander has got a different story altogether. They haven't even rehearsed well to add up their story. Their stories don't add up. One will tell you he was picked up from the crime scene. The other one will tell you that he was shot while sitting in the police car. The other one will also tell you that he was taken to the crime scene and he was shot at the crime scene. They have 3 stories, to the extent that when they even killed the young man, they took him to Holy Family Hospital, to the morgue, and the Holy Family Hospital refused to take the body.
Okay.
So they have to put him in a boot again and transport him to Accra. So they have different stories. It doesn't add up.
Okay.
It doesn't add up. There are too many things. I mean, Dr. Adam, you guys will have to follow up. Right. They have seized a lot of guns, even in Nkoranza. They cannot account for it. So there are a lot of problems. They cannot account for weapons that they've collected. They've collected weapons for the past 4, 5, 6 years. They cannot account for it.
Okay. So, Honorable, going forward, what are the specific demands you are making beyond the open call for justice to be served?
I want an independent inquiry into the killing of Albert.
Okay.
We want to know who actually shot him. We want them to interrogate all the 6 or 7 or 8 policemen who were involved separately by an independent body. They have to investigate what gun was used to kill Albert, which pickup was he sitting in, and which gun, actually the bullet that came into the pickup.
Okay.
Whatever stories they are given, and also they need to gather all these 3 stories and put it up. They are given the same story that happens in Ashama. I don't know if the usual training story that when you kill somebody, then you tell the family that we took him to the crime scene and got shot by some exchange of fire.
Okay.
What exchange of fire was it? If the Albert, even if you are taking him to a crime scene, don't you have to protect him? In fact, if they really wanted an investigation into the robbery, why do you kill the boy? It means there's somebody behind the robbery in the area.
Okay.
That they are trying to conceal information.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Emmanuel Ejikum. Subsequently, we'll come to you for some more follow-up on this. Dr. Bona, I will come to you shortly, but joining me in studio is Dennis Wedam from our News Planning Department, and he's been looking into some of stories or statements by the police service on killings that have occurred in the last few months, in such circumstances. Dennis, what did you find?
Well, so as far back as last year, that's in 2021, there was a report from the police, a statement, and in that statement they stated that 2 robbers were shot dead, then 1 armed supplier arrested, and 2 weapons retrieved. Now in the narrative, narrating the circumstances under which those 2 robbers were killed, the police said that the 2 were taken to a hideout, ostensibly to find their accomplices. That when they got there, there was an exchange of fire between the police and then the supposed accomplices, and in the process, the 2 who were initially arrested were shot dead. This is not the only incident. If you recall, we've been having a lot of conversation about the Bullion van robbery. Only in March for the police to tell us that they've made inroads in that regard. They said 2 police officers were involved, and that in the coming days they were going to give us details. The coming days came with a shock when we were told that the 2 who were initially arrested were shot dead. The circumstances under which they said they were shot dead, in their statement, had it that they also led the police to go and arrest some others, and in the process there was a crossfire, and these 2 who were initially arrested were caught in that crossfire. They were shot, they were rushed to a hospital, and they died on arrival. The issue we're having at hand to deal with again, that's the case of Albert Donko, also comes across as in a similar fashion. that the police told the people of Nkoranza that Albert was taken to a crime scene to help them apprehend some other suspects in that matter. Unfortunately, as the police put it, Albert was shot and dead. I mean, this has been a conversation running that when the police shoot suspects who have not been convicted yet, what usually is the process and how are they dealing with this situation? And there's also been a concern that it's become one too many narrative from the police, similar fashion, same line, and all of that.
Thank you very much, Dennis Wedam, he's with the News Planning Department. Dr. Bona, so those are just a few of the instances as far back as 2021. How should the police be pegging itself of some of these narratives? Because we have learned that sometimes these are persons who may have information about the complicity of some of the police officers themselves, and so by killing them, they are, concealing evidence and whatnot.
Well, maybe I think the police would have to relook at its protocols, established protocols or existing protocols when it comes to sending suspects to, hideouts and crime scenes to go and pick up some evidence. Because what I am aware of is usually the suspects sometimes will lead the police into some of these areas. And so we need to be very careful not to, jumble all of them together. Right. In most instances, I will tell you that in criminal prosecution, the game changer is evidence. And so if you caught an armed robber and you said he was shooting, he had some AK-47, and you don't go back to the crime scene or the hideout to pick up that AK-47 or some shells, you would go to court and the armed robber could deny because you don't have any evidence. Right. And so, but they might have to review their, the way suspected criminals are taken to crime scenes. Do they have to buckle them from top down, put ankle chain, put chains on them, because then sometimes they get to the crime scene and sometimes you have, other suspects hiding there and shooting at them. But that shouldn't be an excuse for us to say there hasn't been any excesses. If you know of that 167, innocent 7 people, young people were killed. Some of us have requested to have an independent police complaint commission. If we can have that, I do believe that when these things happen, they will have what it takes to investigate these things independently. But at the end of the day, I think that this incident should be investigated, and I believe the police should do that as soon as possible. Let's get an independent committee in place to go into this, how this young man died, to ensure that we will not have more chaos and burnings within around the Nkoranza enclave.
Thank you, Dr. Adam Bona, security analyst, speaking to us. Let's get on the phone now. My colleague Larry Pakwisi-Moses has been to the area. He's joining us with some updates. Larry, what can you report?
Yeah, Comrade, thanks very much for having me. We just got to the community, that is Nkoranza municipality, where the incident happened, and we bumped into the family house of the late Albert Donko. We spoke to the mother, and the mother was telling us that the last time she saw the son was on the 25th of April at exactly 1 a.m. when the men in uniform came or stormed her residence and picked the son at exactly 1 a.m. But what the woman said something which is very striking. She said when they came in a commercial vehicle, that is taxi, and that all the number plates were covered. All the number plates, both the front and the back, were all covered. He said she tried to take the number of the vehicle, but she couldn't because all the number plates were then covered. So she suspected something fishy. Now, in the morning, they tried to get to the police station of the municipal area, only for them to be denied access to see their ward or to see their son. From 25th up to last week, that the news came that their son had died. They have not cited Albert. They couldn't see him from 25th up to last week that the report came from the police that their son had passed on.
All right, thank you very much, Larry Pakwisi-Moses. Do stay in the area, keep your tabs on this particular subject. Trust that will bring a lot more developing angles to this story in the course of the day if you stay with us here on TV3 and all our social media platforms.